Breaking news out of Washington this afternoon. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes announcing that communications of Trump's transition officials and possibly even the president himself may have been under surveillance by the Obama administration following the November election. Roll tape.
What I've read seems to me to be some level of surveillance activity, perhaps legal, but I don't know that it's right, and I don't know that the American people would be comfortable with what I've read. But let us get all the reports.
The president was correct in what he tweeted?
It is possible. I think the president is concerned, and he should be. I think he'd like to see these reports.
And here's President Trump's reaction to this new shocking revelation.
I somewhat do. I must tell you, I somewhat do. I very much appreciated the fact that they found what they found, but I somewhat do.
Joining me now, Fred Fleitz. Fred, let's go through this. Nunes is saying that there was apparently a FISA warrant. It was legal. They were doing surveillance, and during the course of that surveillance, certain members of the Trump transition team were picked up. Is that a correct sort of summary of it, a characterization of it?
It's a good summary, but let me cut to the chase of what's going on here. Intelligence reports were made available to Nunes that had nothing to do with Russia or investigating the Trump campaign that mentioned Trump officials. Personal details of these officials of no intelligence value were included in these reports, and the names of Trump officials in these reports were demasked, multiple Trump officials. This is not supposed to happen, Charles, unless there is a compelling national security reason.
Who were they unmasked to, Fred? Who? In other words, you know, we've seen the masking and leaking with the Michael Flynn situation straight to the media. Who had access to these names, and what's the implication with respect to President Trump himself?
Those are very important questions, and those are questions Nunes asked today. Nunes wants to know who asked for these names to be demasked and why. Now, I don't know whether Nunes has a report that was disseminated throughout the intelligence community with the names unmasked, or whether they were in some compartmented channel. Nunes is just saying the names of Trump officials were revealed, names that should have been protected.
He had 5 essential questions that you just mentioned. Who was aware of this? Obviously, we want to know. Why was Congress not disclosed it? Why wasn't it disclosed to Congress? Who actually requested? I think this is important, too. Who requested and who actually had the authorization to unmask these people? Can we get answers to these questions?
Well, I think that's something that's known, that this could have been requested by officials at the NSC or maybe at the State Department, maybe people in the White House itself asked for these names to be unmasked, and there will be a paper trail. This is something that is discoverable.
He also said whether anyone directed the intelligence community to focus on Trump's associates, and if enough associates were indeed being the subject of this sort of focus or surveillance, then you could argue you had a de facto surveillance of Trump himself.
I think that's right. I believe there really was surveillance of Trump by the Obama administration through FISA warrants and by scouring intelligence collected for other reasons to find references to Trump and his people to leak to the media to hurt Trump. And I think Nunes found evidence of that today.
What's going to come of this? He also talked about whether any laws, regulations, or procedures were violated. You know, maybe they used maybe they took advantage of the rule book and were within the confines of it, but did something that morally was despicable.
I think they followed the rules in collecting this information, but in demasking the names and leaking it, they broke the rules. I believe all of this happened because the Obama administration was convinced Hillary Clinton was going to win, and they therefore could get away with it.
What do you make, though, of the idea that this mostly happened after the election results? Could you argue that this is part of an effort to delegitimize the election and the outcome in of itself?
Well, Nunes said this information is from November through January. I think this went on during the campaign. Maybe Nunes doesn't know that, but it could be that this is just a pure and simple way to basically sabotage the Trump administration.
We saw just moments ago there was a really pretty angry press conference, if you will. Adam Schiff, the leading Democrat on the committee, and he was visibly upset. Can we argue, can we say that there will ever be definitive resolution on this? I mean, will both sides always be able to cherry pick parts of this that help or bolster their argument? Will the American public ever be able to say definitively, yes, that's the answer?
I think the American public might be convinced that the Obama administration really did spy on the Trump campaign. Schiff's press conference was such a joke. He's criticizing Nunes for not being interested in a serious investigation. Charles, did you watch that hearing on Monday? Did you see any interest by the Democrats on the Intelligence Committee of being interested in having a legitimate and fair investigation of Russia interference in the election?